Good day, everyone. I am Justine Caidoy. I'm here to tackle about use of natural resources. Natural resources hold a place in every life, whether we live a life in an urban area, whether we live a life of wealth or poverty. Natural assets have contributed significantly to improvement of maximum international locations around the world. In a few international locations of the world, natural resources account for over 90% in their revenue. Therefore, the significance of natural resources assets are incomparable. So, what is natural resources? It is the raw materials that can be collected from natural environments such as landmass, bodies of water, or air. Example of natural resources: water, air, land, oil, soil, forest, natural gas, groundwater, and many more. Natural resources economics. It deals with the allocation, supply, and demand of the earth natural resources. So one of the main objects of natural resources economics is better to understand the role of natural resources in the economy in order to develop more sustainable methods of managing those resources to ensure their availability for future generations. So why is economic applied in using natural resources? First, limited resources are basically those resources that take a relatively long time to replenish. With the pressure inflicted by rapid global population growth, the demand of overwhelms the availability of limited resources. So, ini na mga resources na maiya mag-regenerate, so ganhan mga puno, population, hit animals. Second, unlimited wants and needs. Unlimited wants and needs is an economic term that refers to human. We never get enough because there's always something else that we need or want. The term unlimited wants is the side of human nature that wants an infinite number of things. However, the resources we have available to get these wants are limited. Third, reduce the possibility of resources depletion. According to James Parker, the depletion of natural resources is a global environmental issue that jeopardizes the livelihood of billions of people on our planet. The depletion of natural resources is caused by poor environment, human practices, and mismanagement. It affects the health of our planet and all its species, including us. In every country, natural resources are critical infrastructures for economic development. This is especially true about developing countries. Products, which are produced by natural resources, has a large range of variety and are specialized for humans' uses, so that part of their value belongs to uses values.
Use of natural resources. There are two types of natural resources, which is the renewable resources and the non-renewable resources. Renewable resources are renewable resources is one that can be used repeatedly and does not run out because it is naturally replaced. The resources which cannot be exhausted even after continuous utilization are termed as renewable resources. Renewable resources include solar energy, wind, falling water, heat from the earth or geothermal, plant materials or biomass, waves, ocean currents, temperature differences in the ocean and the energy of tides. Renewable resources, however, can be depleted if not properly managed or conserved. And then non-renewable resources are those natural resources that are depleted more quickly than they can regenerate. A non-renewable resource is a natural substance that is not replenished with the speed at which it is consumed, and it is a finite resource. Examples of non-renewable resources include crude oil, natural gas, coal, and uranium. These are all resources that are processed into products that can be used commercially. Non-renewable resources refer to minerals and metals from earth such as gold, silver, and iron. Uh, in summary, our renewable and non-renewable resources you can see the difference of renewable and non-renewable resources. Thank you.
Life on Earth is supported by the natural systems of the planet. Human livelihoods and well-being are also improved by te- biodiverse terrestrial, freshwater, and marine habitats. While putting a figure on a healthy planet is practically impossible, economists estimate that the value of the services delivered annually by well-functioning terrestrial ecosystems is at least equal to the annual global gross domestic product or GDP. Ecosystems that are healthy supply oxygen, cleanse water, guard guard against storms, feed people, and regulate the climate. Humanity, on the other hand, has a long history of unsustainable use of Earth's life sustaining natural resources. Since the 1970s, the total human resource needs have outpaced the planet's regeneration capability, according to the National History Museum. Fortunately, the planet has been constructed in such a way that the flow of natural resources is maximized in order to fulfill the increasing human need for resources. Humans, on the other hand, are destroying natural ecosystems at a rate 1.7 times faster than the Earth's regeneration rate, according to study. And this rate is rapidly increasing, along with other human activities such as land use, changes on a large scale, organism hunting and harvesting, pollution, overfishing, deforestation, and invading species. That's why the Worldwide Fund for Nature, or WWF, warns that if immediate action isn't taken, natural resources and living standards will begin to decline by 2030. Overuse of the Earth's resources has resulted in major environmental issues. First is air pollution. Aside from abiotic and biotic raw materials, we use water, soil, air, biodiversity, and land as ecosystems and for recreation. And we use wind power, solar power, and tidal flows for electricity. These resources also function as carbon sinks, garbage disposal, and critical production elements in agriculture and forestry. Unfortunately, and unavoidably, resource usage along the entire supply chain causes pollution, and global resource use is increasing constantly. Second is water pollution. Humans are the primary cause of the water pollution, which occurs in a variety of ways, including industrial waste dumping, temperature rise, which causes water to change by reducing the amount of oxygen in its composition, and deforestation, which causes sediments and bacteria to appear under the soil and thus contaminated groundwater. Number 3, biodiversity depletion. Ito naman ay pagkaubos ng mga natural na yaman dahil sa kalabisan ng paggamit and also to satisfy the human needs and wants. Most species, food, resources, and living space are reduced or eliminated as a result of destruction of an existing natural habitat. Species that are unable to move or frequently wipe off. Waste production. Ito naman halimbawa, mismanagement of landfill waste as a result of rubbish pollution. And the second also is the toxic scents or of gassing emitted by plastic manufacturing, paints, and so on. Also, food supply problems. Food production has had the greatest environmental impact of any human endeavor. Humanity devotes more space to food production than any other activity, accounting for nearly one-third of the Earth's surface area, much of which was previously forest but has been turned by humans into farms or grazing fields. Agriculture also contributes to a slew of other environmental and resource issues. Worse is yet to come, despite the fact that food prices are nearing record highs, demand is increasing. The world is confronted with extremely critical natural resource and environmental concern. First is wasteful use of resources. Perfectly usable products may be discarded or manufactured with a built-in obsolescence in a culture where a high quality of living necessitates particularly quick consumption of new goods. The materials used in this type of manufacturing are unlikely to be recovered completely and are frequently only partially salvaged. Pollution is caused by the overproduction of factory waste, scrap, and garbage, but fast profit industries are less concerned with anti-pollution safeguards. Humans have a negative impact on a natural habitats through a variety of activities such as deforestation, urbanization, highways, the energy industry, both renewable and fossils, mining, and climate change. Deforestation is the most common cause of habitat damage, either to develop land for agriculture, 70% or to extract lumber extensively. Uh, Example, the Amazon's forests are under constant economic pressure to be converted to pasture and arable land. For example, for maize, soybean production for the expanding pig and poultry sectors. Third is freshwater depletion. I mean, rivers. This happen in rivers, lakes, and aquifers are drying out or polluted to the point of being unusable. Over half of the world's wetlands are vanished. And also ocean overfishing. Overfishing occurs when too many fish are caught at once, depleting the breeding stock to the point where it cannot recover. Overfishing sometimes associated with inefficient commercial fishing methods that bring in large quantities of undesirable fish or other animals, which are then discarded. Depletion and contamination of surface and groundwater. Groundwater is also one of our most important sources of agricultural water. Unfortunately, groundwater is prone to pollution. Groundwater contamination naman happens when man-made items such as gasoline, oil, road salts, and chemicals enter the groundwater and render it unsuitable for human consumption. Also, desertification and the conversion of product farmland and pasture lands. Just like what I said kanina. And also extension related biodiversity loss.
So hello everyone, my name is Adriel Incorporado and I will discuss about conservation of natural resources. Our society relies heavily on natural environment. Humans cannot exist on the earth without these natural resources. Therefore, it is important for us humans to preserve and conserve these natural resources. So, natural resource conservation is the conservation and care of those natural resources. The main idea of conservation is to use the natural resources optimally and not waste any natural resources. So one popular method of thinking about natural resources is in terms of depletion risk. So renewable resources takes time to form or recover. So if they recover, the question is how quickly. So trees and plants, for example, are renewable resources since they recover. Copper and oil, for example, takes ages to form and therefore termed non-renewable resources. So natural resources generate a thick network of interdependence when they are combined, generating ecosystems that also include mankind. As a result, resource distribution affects the face of our globe and the uniqueness of our surroundings on a community scale. So natural resources are generally seen as valuable systems for economic development of a nation. The usage of resources has increased over time as a result of progressive industrialization. So, how do we conserve the natural resources? So, one way of conserving natural resources is fostering sustainable resource governance. These are the huge norms, institutions, and organizations that influence the use of natural resources, and they develop the operational guidelines and utilizing agreements. So, in certain circumstances, exploitation of resource rates exceed natural regeneration rates. Such overconsumption endangers the lives and well-being of people relying on these resources, as well as the quality of the environment. So, the risk of natural resource depletion highlights the need of natural resource use to be regulated in order to better maintain resources and their ecosystems. The first UN Conference of Natural Environmental Issues, held in Stockholm, Sweden in 1972, approved the key principles in this respect. So, the Stockholm Declaration addresses both resource depletion and benefit sharing, with the aim of maintaining the natural resource utilization tends to benefit the many rather than the few. So the Stockholm Declaration states in Principle 2, the natural resources of the earth, including the air, water, land, flora and fauna, and especially representative samples of natural ecosystem, must be safeguarded for the benefit of present and future generations, through careful planning or management as appropriate. So the principle 3 is the capacity of the earth to produce vital renewable resources must be maintained and wherever practicable, restored or improved. So the non-renewable resources of the earth must be employed in such a way as to guard against the danger of their future exhaustion and to ensure that benefits from such employment are shared by all mankind. And that is what it states in the Principle 5 of Stockholm Declaration. Education is also one of the keys to raise awareness to people on how to conserve the natural resources. Through structured education, experiences and activities targeted to various age groups allows them to understand on how natural resources and ecosystems affect each other and how resources can be used wisely. Through education, people develop the critical thinking they need to understand the complexities of ecological problems. It also encourages people to act on their own to conserve natural resources and use them in a responsible manner. So the next is laws and policies. Laws and policies makes legal actions towards violators. Laws and policies also gives authority to designated people in the government to manage the waste that damages the environment. This also includes the monitoring, transportation, treatment and storage and disposal of those various wastes.
And now to continue the topic, I will be tackling about the real life situation and the current issues regarding of natural resources. Natural resources are central to human well-being. We cannot live without the clean air we breathe, the plants we eat, or the water we drink. We need natural resources to put roofs over our head and heat our homes. We need them to survive and to strive. But the question is, why are natural resources important? Without natural resources, human would not survive. People use natural resources every day, directly or indirectly. More than 60% of resource use are towards food and drink, mobility such as cars and trains, etc., and housing. Narrow dilemma is an example of issue about mining of natural resources. Narrow economic depends on the phosphate place the country in a vulnerable state. The century-long implementation of phosphate mines has also harmed the country environment, citizens' health, source of income, and wealth distribution. Nauru is a small island country, a speck in the Pacific Ocean with an area of only 21 square kilometers. It is smallest state in the South Pacific and third smallest state by the area in the world. Nauru was originally inhabited by the Micronesian and Polynesian people for at least 3,000 years, who remained isolated from Western contact except for the occasional runaway sailor or escaped convict until the late 19th centuries, when it was annexed and claimed as a colony by the German Empire. Nor economically significant natural resources are phosphate formed from Gaonu deposit by seabirds fisheries, particular for tuna.